Chapter 8, Socioemotional Development in Early Childhood. Emotional and Personal Development. Children developing minds and social experience produce remarkable advance in the development of number 1, the self, number 2, emotional development, number 3, moral development, and gender. The self. Erickson's psychosocial stage associate with early childhood. Initiative versus guilt. Children use perceptual, motor, cognitive, and language skills to make things happen. Number two, children exuberant move out into wider social world on their own initiative. Number 3, the great governor of initiative is conscience. Number 4, initiative and enthusiasm. Number 4, initiative and enthusiasm may bring guilt, which lowers self-esteem. Self-understanding and understanding others. Number 1, increase awareness, reflect young children, expanding psychological sophistication. Number 2, self-understanding, substance and content of self-conception. Number 3, physical activities, central component of the self in early childhood. Number 4, tend to confuse ability and effort. Number 5, unrealistic positive self-description, which are self-protective. And number 6, better basic understanding of emotion in early childhood enable children to develop more advanced understanding of other perspective. Understanding others. Number 1, children start perceiving others in terms of psychological threats. Number 2, children begin to develop an understanding for joint commitment. And number 3, young children are not egocentric as depicted in Piaget theory. Emotional development. Growing self-awareness is linked to feeling. Growing self-awareness is linked to expanding and expressing a range of emotion. Number 1, young children experience many emotions during the day. Number 2, emotional development allows for ability to make sense of other people, emotional reaction, and control their own. Expressing emotion. Expressing emotion, pride, shame, embarrassment, and guilt are examples of self-conscious emotion. Number 1, during the early childhood years, pride and guilt become more common. Influenced by parents' response to children's behavior. For example, you should feel bad about beating your sister. Understanding emotion. Number 1, children understanding of emotion linked to increase in pro-social behavior. Number 2, children begin to understand that same event can elicit different feeling and different people. Number 3, by age 5, most children show more ability to reflect on emotion and growing awareness of the need to manage emotion according to social standards. Regulating emotion. Regulating emotion. Number 1, play a key role in children ability to manage the demand and conflict they face in interacting with others. Number 2, parents can be described as taking an emotion coaching or an emotion dismissing approach to help children regulate emotion. Number 3, ability to modulate emotion benefits children in their relationship with peers. Moral development involve thought, feeling, and behavior regarding rules and convention about what people should do in their interaction with other people. Moral feelings. Moral feelings, feeling of anxiety and guilt are central to the account of moral development. Number 2, emotion and guilt can motivate behavior. Moral reasoning. Moral reasoning, heteronomous morality. Heteronomous morality, the first stage of moral development in Piaget theory occurring from approximately 4 to 7 years of age. Heteronomous morality, the first stage of moral development in Piaget theory, occurring from approximately 4 to 7 years of age. Justice and rules are conceived of unchangeable properties of the world, removed from the control of people. Autonomous morality. Autonomous morality in Piaget theory, older children 10 years of age and older become aware that rules and laws are created by people. When judging an action. When judging an action, one should consider the actor's intention as well as the consequences. Imminent justice. Imminent justice concept that if a rule is broken, punishment will be meted out immediately. Imminent justice concept that if a rule is broken, punishment will be meted out immediately. Parent-child relation, in which parents have the power and children do not, are less likely to advance moral reasoning. Rules are handed down in an authority manner. Moral behavior. Number 1, process of reinforcement, punishment, and imitation explain the development of moral behavior. Number 2, situation influence behavior. Number 3, cognitive factors are important in the child development of self-control. Conscience. Conscience, internal regulation of standard of right and wrong that involves integrating moral thought, feeling, and behavior. Conscience, integrating moral thought, feeling, and behavior. Parenting and young children moral development. Aspect of parent and child relationship contribute to children moral development. Number 1, relational quality. Number 2, parental discipline. Number 3, proactive strategies. Number 4, conversational dialogue. Gender identity. The sense of being male or female, which most children acquire by 2.5 years. Gender identity. Gender identity, the sense of being male or female, which most children acquire by 2.5 years. Gender rule. Gender rule, a cultural set of expectations that prescribe how females or males should think, act, and feel. Gender rule, a cultural set of expectations that prescribe how females or males should think, act, and feel. Gender typing. Gender typing, accusation of traditional masculine or feminine rule. Gender typing, accusation of traditional masculine or feminine rule. Biological influence. Number 1, chromosome. Number 2, hormones. Number 3, evolution. Social influence. Social theories of gender. Number 1, social rule theory. Social rule theory, gender difference result from constructing rules of women and men. Social rule theory, gender difference result from contrasting rule of women and men. Psychoanalytic theory of gender. Psychoanalytic theory of gender, preschool child develops a sexual attraction to opposite sex parent. Psychoanalytic theory of gender, preschool child develops a sexual attraction to opposite sex parent. Social cognitive theory. Social cognitive theory, children gender development occur through observation and imitation of others' word and action. Social cognitive theory, children gender development occur through observation and imitation of other words and action. Parental influence. Parental influence, number 1, mother socialization strategy for daughter to be obedient, strict autonomy. Number 2, father socialization strategy for son to engage in activities to promote intellectual development. Peer influence. Peer influence, number 1, preschooler prefer socializing with same gender. Number 2, group size. Boys tend create large cluster. Number 3, interaction in same-sex group. Interaction in same-sex group. Boys tend competitively play. Girls tend to have conversation. Cognitive influence. Gender schema theory. Gender scheme theory. Children gradually develop gender scheme of what is gender appropriate and gender inappropriate in their culture. Gender scheme theory. Children gradually develop gender scheme of what is gender appropriate and gender appropriate in their culture. Parent as compared to non-parents. Number 1, are typically more satisfied with their lives. Number 2, feel relative better on daily basis. Number 3, have more positive feelings toward children and daily activities. Recent study of father and of mother report feeling they are not spending enough time with their children. SUBMARINE parenting style. SUBMARINE parenting style. Authority parenting. Number 1, parent exhort child to follow direction and respect their work and effort. Number 2, allow little verbal exchange. Number 3, associate with children social incompetence. Number 4, link to child higher level of aggression. Authoritative parenting. Number 1, encourage children to be independent but still place limit and control on their action. Extensive verbal give. Number 2, extensive verbal give and take is allowed. Number 3, associate with children social competence. Number 4, children are more pre-social. Neglect parenting. Neglect parenting. Number 1, parent is uninvolved in the child life. Number 2, associate with children social incompetence and lack of self-control. Number 3, children externalize problem. Indulgent parenting. Indulgent parenting. Number 1, parents are highly involved with their children but place few demands or controls on them. Number 2, associate with children social incompetence and lack of self-control. Number 4, associate with children not respecting others. Number 4, children may egocentric, non-compliant, and have difficult in peer relation. Parenting style in context. Parenting style in context. Number 1, authoritative parenting convey the most benefit to child and to the family as whole. Number 2, parenting is reciprocal socialization and synchrony. Parenting is reciprocal socialization and synchrony. Children socialize parent and parent socialize children. Consistent parenting. Number 3, consistent parenting is recommended. Number 3, consistent parenting is recommended. However, flexibility in style is warranted depending on situation. Number 4, research about parenting style most on mother, not father, who often are authority in comparison. Number 5, consistent parenting style are most beneficial. Punishment. Corporal punishment is linked to number 1, higher level of child behavior problem. Number 2, higher level of aggression as children and adolescent. Number 3, higher incident of intimate partner violence as adult. Number 4, fear of parent. Best to handle misbehavior by reasoning with child and explaining consequence of child action for others. Co-parenting. Co-parenting support that parent gives each other in raising child. Co-parenting support that parents give each other in raising child. Types of child maltreatment. Number 1, physical abuse, child neglect, sexual abuse, emotional abuse. Context of abuse. Number 1, among the family and family associated characteristics that may contribute to child maltreatment are parenting stress, substance abuse, social isolation, single parenting, and socioeconomic difficult. Number 2, about difficulties of parents who were abused themselves when they were young go to abuse their own children. Developmental consequence of abuse. Poor emotion regulation. Poor emotion regulation, attached problem, poor relationship, difficult in adapting to school, depression. Physical abuse linked to diminished cognitive development and school participation. Engaged in violent romantic relationship, delinquency, sexual risk-taking, substance abuse. Increase in 13 to 18 years old suicide idea, plans, and attempt. Sibling relationship. Important characteristic. Number 1, emotional quality of relationship. Number 2, familiar and intimacy of relationship. Number 3, variation in sibling relationship. Birth order. Birth order. Number 1, compared with later born children, firstborn children have been described as more adult-oriented, helpful, conforming, and self-controlled. Number 2, only children often are achievement-oriented. Working parents. Working parents, number 1, more than 1 of every 2 U.S. mother with child under the age of 5 is in the workforce. Number 2, children of working mother engage in less gender stereotyping and have more egalitarian views of gender than do children of non-working mothers. Number 3, more recent study found negative association with father's employment but not mother employment. Children in divorced family. Children in divorced family show poorest adjustment than their counterpart and never divorced family. New research indicate that experienced divorce during childhood was linked to worse cohabitant material relationship from 16 to 30. Number 1, also influenced by SES at birth. Number 2, also influenced by experience of childhood sexual abuse. Number 3, parental divorce and child maltreatment linked to midlife suicidal idea. Many problem children experience after parent divorce, date to before the divorce. Number 6, frequent non-custodial parent visit benefit children. Number 7, children with difficult temperament have problems coping with divorce. The opposite is also true. Co-parenting after divorce helps children adjust, reduce anxiety and depression, and increase self-esteem and academic performance. Divorced mother often lose income and experience increased workloads, high rates of job instability, and high rates of moving. Gay and lesbian parent compare heterosexual parents. Number 1, few difference between children growing up in homosexual families. Number 2, no difference in peer relationship, mental health adjustment. Cultural, ethnic, and socioeconomic variation. Cultural, ethnic, and socioeconomic variation. Number 1, trend toward greater family mobility, migration to urban areas. Number 2, minority parents tend to have less education and may live in low-income circumstances. Lower says parent. Lower says parent, more concerned that their children conform to society expectation. Number 2, create a home atmosphere in which it is clear that parents have authority over children among others. Number 3, use more physical punishment. Number 5, are more directive and less conversational. Higher says parent. Number 1, more concerned with developing children, initiative, and delay gratification. Number 2, less likely to use physical punishment. Number 3, create a home atmosphere in which children are more nearly equal participant in which rules are discussed. Number 4, are less directive and more conversational. Peer relation. Peer relation, number 1, give children information and comparison about the world outside their family. Number 2, good peer relations are necessary for normal socio-emotional development. Number 3, developmental children start spending time with same gender. Number 4, children makes friends of all ethnic groups. Number 5, parent lifestyle decision determine their children friend choosing. Play. Play therapy is used to allow the child to work up frustration and to analyze the child conflict and way of coping with them. Number 2, provides important context for development of language and communication skills. Number 3, children have less unconstructed playtime and need more time for play for development. Connected world of parents, child, and peer relationship. Parents influence children peer relationship directly and indirectly. Number 1, basic life decision. Number 2, attachment and security. Play function. Play function. Number 1, important aspect of development. Play therapy. Play therapy allows children to work off frustration and analyze children conflict and way of coping. Play therapy allows children to work off frustration and analyze children conflict and way coping. Important context of cognitive development, exploration, and language development. Types of play. Sensory motor. Sensory motor, infant derive pleasure from exercising their existing sensory motor scheme. Practice. Practice involves repetition of behavior when new skills are being learned. Pretense. Symbolic. pretense and symbolic, transforming physical environment into symbol. Pretense and symbolic, transforming physical environment into symbol. Social. Social involves interaction with peers. Constructive. Constructive combines sensory motor practice play with symbolic representation. Constructive combines sensory motor practice play with symbolic representation. Games. Activities are engaged in pleasure and have rules. Games. Activities are engaged in for pleasure and have rules. Peer relation. Play and media screen time. Television strongly influences children development. Children also use other media. Screen time. Screen time include how much time individual spend with television, DVDs, computer, video games, and mobile devices. Young children use a mobile devices dramatically increased 2011 to 2013. Playing games using app, watching video games, watching TV and movies. Playful learning and cognitive development. Number 1, playful learning and cognitive development. Number 1 result is creativity. Number 2, abstract thinking. Number 3, imagination, attention. Number 4, concentration, persistence. Number 5, problem solving, social cognition. Number 6, empathy and perspective taking. And number 7, language. And number 8, mastery of new concept. Playful learning and socio-emotional development. Playful learning and socio-emotional development. Number 1, enjoyment. Number 2, relaxation. Number 3, self-expression. Number 4, cooperation. Number 5, sharing and turn-taking. Number 6, anxiety reduction. Number 7, self-confidence. Many 2 or 4 years old spend 2 to 4 hours day watching TV, more time than they spend with parents. Children and Television, American Academy of Pediatrics. Number 1, 2 to 5 years old should watch maximum 1 hour of TV per day. Watching high-quality program, for example, Sesame Street and PBS show. Number 2, can teach children positive pro-social behavior. Link to higher obesity rates in children and adolescents. Link to violent aggressive behavior. Media screen time. Best type of educational apps parents can purchase for children. Number 1, active involvement. Number 2, engagement. Number 3, meaningfulness. Number 3, social interaction. Classification of parenting style. Classification of parenting style. Authority parenting is accepting and responsive while also demanding and controlling. Authoritative parenting is rejecting and unresponsive while also demanding and controlling. Indulgent parent is accepting and responsive while also undemanding and uncontrolling. Neglectful parenting is rejecting and unresponsive while also undemanding and uncontrolling. Child maltreatment. Child maltreatment. 5% of middle SES, young children in birth families had abnormal stress hormone levels, as compared to 35% of maltreated young children in foster homes who had abnormal stress hormone level. Changing family and changing society. Among families with children under 18 in United States, 23% are single-parent families as compared to 17% in Sweden, 15% in Canada, 14% in Germany, 13% in the UK, 11% Australia, 11% in France, and 16% in Japan. The end. Thank you.